Hello and welcome to CINEWATCH Live. We are back. We did have a bit of a week off, and I unfortunately have to announce that Craig is unable to take part in the podcast from here on out. Today's episode will just be me and Sophie, so we'll be doing our 60 to 51. But next week we are hoping to have Lucas join us to do his top 50. So it sort of matches up in a way, I think. We would have covered at least 290 films rather than 300 by the end of it, but I think that matches up, don't you, Sophie?
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a problem at all.
Yeah, and so a quick bit of news is that The Mandalorian Season 2, a lot of news has been coming out of that lately, but Boba Fett is confirmed to have joined, and Temuera Morrison, if I've pronounced that right, who played Jango Fett in the prequels, will be playing him, so that's just a bit of news there. And another thing I wanted to discuss is Utopia, because I know that you love it, Sophie, and I've been watching it, and I watched this like when I was a child, and basically a lot of American like listeners, if anyone from the US is listening to this, will not know like because it's like quite a British show. I don't think it was actually shown in America.
I don't think it was either, but I think they're attempting to do an American adaptation of Utopia, which I'm not really excited about because there's just aspects of it that are just for British audiences. But
Yeah, I
I'll give it a go.
really hope they don't do that. Honestly, like we've seen the likes of The Bridge, that was obviously Swedish, be adapted for American TV.
That was The Tunnel, wasn't it?
I don't even know. I think we adapted that actually as The Tunnel, but I think that was sort of different. I think it was similar but different. But like The Bridge was adapted in American TV, I think, for like FX or something, and like it was like really like shit. So I don't know. I could be wrong, but I think it was FX or someone adapted it. But yeah, no, I wouldn't like that. But I'm gonna tell you where I'm up to, so we don't spoil anything for me or like. So I am gonna like put a warning out. Like I've got episode 6 of season 1 or series 1 as we Brits call it up on my screen right now. Right, I'm 16 minutes into it. I've just found out. So this is like for anyone that's not seen it up to this or doesn't mind about spoilers, whatever. This is like spoilers for episodes 1 to 6 and 16 minutes in. That's such a weird thing I thought I'd never say. But anyway, um, I've just found out that Anya is actually English.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit shook, but I'm also like.
And they were in the flat with Michael.
Yeah, I'm so intrigued now. I'm like, and she's just like taken out Michael and what's his Ian with a gun. Yeah, so like I'm a bit like shook, like what? But yeah. So, like, Sophie, give us like a rundown, like, for the listeners of what's been going on up to this moment because it's quite complex. It's like a very complex TV show, but
it is. Utopia is very complex. Basically, it's about basically there's a graphic novel called Utopia, and it's about this scientist who makes a deal with the devil, and there's these group of people who are a big fan of this graphic novel, and this graphic novel has like information to do with Jesus going out, but it also links in with another story about this man high up in politics who deals with like Spanish and Russian flu and stuff like that. And they've released this. They're trying to release this Russian flu, and it's this thing called the Network. And the Network are like this big bad organisation that just want to. I don't know if you've got onto this bit yet. I don't want to spoil it.
Well, if it's in the final episode, I just wouldn't mention it.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you as much as possible without spoiling it.
I'll tell you what. Shall I tell you what I know, and then we'll talk from there? Yeah. So what I know is obviously that, like you said, it's like a vaccine, called Jadis or something, Jadis, and there was one of the main top politician guys that they're trying to get it across the UK as an experiment because it will make people like sterile or something, so they can't have babies. But there'll be a certain percentage of people that can have kids, is what I'm aware of. Because the population they believe is like too high or something, and like it's costing money to feed mouths, so they believe that cutting the increase of population in the UK as the experiment, if it works, then they'll do it all around the world. And then, but they said like in like 500 years time, it will go back to being like people being able to reproduce like they would, like in this day and age. But that's what.
So basically, the UK is like a test subject for this doesn't allow them to have children. But they don't know that they won't be allowed. So it's against everyone in the UK's will. It's all very clever, but there's also lots of little things linked in between. There's Becky, who's got Deal syndrome. And there's
Becky
also
has it.
yeah, it's just in the first episode.
I thought her dad had it. That's something I didn't listen to then. Fair enough. Or is it genetic?
It's genetic. She got it from her dad.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and along with this, there's a person called Arby. He's working for the network, so he's a kind of hitman, and he's got his best mate Lee. Well, he had his best mate Lee. Spoilers for the end of episode 1.
But Arby, within like episode 3, he sort of, I think it's episode 3 or 2, like he finds out that he was actually also, because there's this main character called Jessica Hyde, who was the person that wrote the manuscript. So basically, Utopia 1 was released, and it revealed a lot of things about Deal syndrome, I think it was, that came true. And then, because it was released in like 1984, and then in 1987 this stuff happened. And then Utopia 2 was written by the same guy, who had a daughter called Jessica Hyde, who we also find out is Arby's father as well. And Arby was this boy that they did experiments on, as far as I'm aware. I don't know if anything's changed.
Yeah.
Because I know you've seen both series.
The creator of Utopia, the graphic novel, his kids are Jessica Hyde and RB. But RB, it happened in episode 2. RB is not his real name. His real name is like Pietri or something like that. And RB is literally the initials RB, which stands for Raisin Boy. And he's constantly walking around with chocolate raisins, and that's where that's linked in.
Yeah, because there's literally a scene, like, because if anyone hasn't seen this show, it is very violent, and like, I think it's a shame because Channel 4 is sort of they just don't advertise it anymore, because they sort of took it off because of the complaints it got from Ofcom, which are the people you complain to here in the UK to do with television and media content. And like, it's a shame because like, you never see it advertised on E4, you never see it advertised on BritBox or, All 4, but it's violent, but it is like, sometimes shows need to be that violent, I feel like, anyway, because it makes it that much better.
I think I was watching a video about this the other day, about the violence within Utopia, and I think there's a lot of violence in Utopia that we've not really seen before, like the torture scene in the first episode and stuff like that, but there's also violence in it that we have seen in films and stuff like that, but the way that it's like set out, so like there's no dramatic pause, there's no standoff, there's nothing like that. It is pure violence, like straight up. It surprises you. It's like a jump scare with violence.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think, I don't know, I think it's a good show though. Like, I feel like without the violence there would be something missing from it.
Definitely.
Like, especially like my reaction to when the guy in episode 3, I think it is, walks, like, the opening is amazing for that episode. He just walks in front of a lorry. You do not see it coming. Like, you're sort of skeptical because he's walking, like, on a busy road, but then it just, fucking hits him, and you're like, what the actual fuck's just happened? But, yeah.
A TV show definitely grabs your attention. I mean, even if you look at the reviews, there are people out there who have complained about the violence and the kind of subjects in the show. But if you really watch it and you really think about it, this TV show is amazing. I mean, it's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. If you go by Rotten Tomatoes, I think it is genuinely one of the best things to come out of the last decade. It is. I agree. Fantastic.
And as we all know, I'm a very big fan of British film and British TV. I'm a big fan of TV in general, sometimes more than films. I feel like you can do a lot more of TV, which Utopia definitely shows. Like, you couldn't put that into one film. It would just be too overpacked, and you couldn't tell the story that they obviously wanted to tell with just a 2-hour film. But, yeah, no, as well, going back to Rotten Tomatoes as well, I know people say, oh, like, don't trust it, blah, blah, blah. Like, I sometimes agree with this is going on a bit of a tangent, but I sometimes agree with, like, the don't, like, listen to reviewers. Like, I get that, but there are times when reviewers do somewhat get it right. Like, you're definitely down to your own opinion. Like, there's a film called Identity Thief starring Melissa McCarthy and Jason Bateman, which I love, which reviewers hated. but like sometimes they get it right. Like for example, The Room, which is a cult classic for being so incredibly shit, has a low score, whereas Utopia, which I would say, and I guess you would say, and I think many other people would say, is a brilliant series, has 100%. So, you know, I would definitely, yeah, I agree with you. The 100% it deserves, and but yeah, no, that was to go off on a tangent about Rotten Tomatoes. I also want to say, right, just while we're on that subject, right, what I think they should do, right, I've always had a problem with, like, I've gone into films, and when you see the Rotten Tomatoes score before it, or the IMDb score, whatever you use, and then you go into the, like, Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, for example, I saw the 59%, and I was going to see it that midnight, and it annoyed me, because, like, I follow Rotten Tomatoes on Instagram, and I don't want to have to unfollow them just because I know a big film is coming out, so I sort of saw the score come up on my feed, and it annoyed me because then like I went into it with an agenda. Like I tried not to, but it was in my head somewhere. But
Yeah, I get what you mean.
what I feel like they should do is like they shouldn't be allowed to release the reviews until I know people want to know the reviews and stuff. Like maybe people can release their own thoughts on it, but without a grade. Like I feel like they should release graded reviews, like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, like at least like 2 weeks or a week after release. Like so the people that really want to see the film have seen it within that week.
Yeah.
Like, but anyway, that was just a tangent I wanted to go on. But anyway, yeah. So Utopia is what I've been watching in quarantine. I know Sophie's seen it like how many times?
So I think I've watched it recently for my third time now.
Third time, and
I have been a massive fan of this since it really came out. It was so good, so
she has the merchandise as well. I've seen it. So
do.
yeah. But I remember watching it when I was really young. It came out in like 2013. But I didn't actually remember. I remember one key scene, which is a spoiler, which I believe happens in episode 6, but I haven't got there yet. But that's all I remember. But I did see both series. But yeah, my parents remember it also. Obviously, they were not as young as I was. I was about 11, I think. Something like that.
It's a scarring TV show to watch when you were younger, but
It
I
is,
mean, the
yeah.
one scene that stands out for me, that has always stood out for me, has been the torture scene. But I think that's just I think it was one of the best torture scenes I've ever seen. I mean, that sounds really weird saying it out loud.
You
but
always say
I
these
think
things
it's
every episode that just
the mo-
makes me
the
question the
monologue,
things
the
you
way
watch.
that it's done.
I do get what you mean though. No, it's a good torture scene. The only other torture scene I've actually seen is from Reservoir Dogs, which I also loved that torture scene. I'm sorry, that is like for me, like, because it's sort of in a weird way comedic, which is so strange for a torture scene. Again, I'm going on a tangent, but do you know what I mean? Like the one in
Oh,
Reservoir Dogs.
it's Mr. Blonde's dancing. I think that helps that a lot.
Yeah, it's so successful. I love that anyway. Um, but yeah, no, that's how we're spending our quarantine, and be nice to hear how you guys are spending your quarantine. So I've been watching Utopia. I've also been watching Dead to Me as the second season came out. I've been watching a
I've
lot of
also
films.
been watching a lot of TV.
TV, yeah. What sort of stuff?
Apart from Utopia, I finished watching Band of Brothers and Loudermilk, which is on Amazon Prime, which is a comedy, very funny. I'm finishing tonight the last episode of Chernobyl.
Oh, is that good?
I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I mean, I don't really have like a massive opinion on it. I mean, I enjoyed watching it, but like, I don't think I'm gonna rave about it.
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
I
right.
was gonna
Worth a
watch it because
watch.
it got so many it got like BAFTAs and Emmys, and I thought, damn, it must be that good. But I also like miniseries because it's like you don't have to watch another season.
Yeah, miniseries are
Yeah.
really good. They normally are amazing.
But I tend to like when I watch stuff, I watch like half-hour shows now. Like literally, like Dead to Me, like every episode's half hour, and it's only 10 episodes. And like I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which was obviously like 20 minutes per episode, which you can do like 3 in an hour. I don't know why, but like obviously Utopia is like 1 hour per episode, and it's like. But sometimes like when there's like hour-long episodes, I feel like it takes so long to finish the series. And I don't know about you, but I get this real sense of like, uh, like happiness when I finish a series. I don't know the word for it. What is it, like relief? Not even relief, because like I don't watch series just to finish them. But do you know what I mean? Like when you finish one, it's like, oh, especially long seasoned ones.
When I'm not enjoying a series, but I feel like I have to finish watching it,
Yeah,
thank the Lord. But I find that when I'm actually really enjoying a series, like when I eventually finished Band of Brothers, when I finished Utopia, when I finished for the first time, when I finished Tin Star,
oh, Tin Star's so
I
good.
I almost put off watching the last episode for like a day or two because I was sat there like, I don't want this to end
I've
because
done
I
that.
was just enjoying it so much.
Yeah, no, I've done that as well. Like, literally, I know exactly what you mean, and it's like it's annoying, isn't it? Like you could say about Tin Star. I think I literally like didn't watch the like of season 2 because I knew the next season wasn't coming for a bit. So I was like, I do not want to watch the final episode. I was also very annoyed that there was 10 episodes in the first season and 9 in the second. I was like, give us another fucking episode because like that fucking show, Tin Star. Honestly, if no one's seen that, that is just another. I think
Star.
is that British and American produced. I don't even know, but it's another
It's
great.
Canadian.
Is it? Yeah, it's set in Canada, but is it Canadian? I don't know. Either way,
I'm not entirely
it's a
sure.
Sky
But they've got
original.
another season coming.
I know. I'm so glad, and it's the final season, I think. But yeah, it's so good, Tin Star, honestly. But
I think with TV shows that aired years ago, Utopia 2013-14, Band of Brothers 2001, you know that that's it, and you're like, oh, like it's coming to an end. There's no more seasons of this. There's no more content. I think there's the dread of that.
You say that, but then Little Britain's coming back, which I am.
I really don't like Little Britain.
Oh, it's so good. I love it. It's such good comedy. Like that's what I get that
It's
comedy
not funny.
so much. I find it hilarious. I'm so disappointed in you.
I'm sorry,
find
loads of people love it. The thing is, I love the League of Gentlemen, which is basically the first version of Little Britain. I think they've taken a lot of characters from the League of Gentlemen.
Is Little Britain that you find it offensive, or do you just not find it funny at all?
Oh bloody hell! No, I don't find it offensive. I mean, I guess you've never seen the League of Gentlemen. It's got it all. It's the most. It's really offensive. No, I don't get upset about anything. I just don't find it funny. I can't stand Matt Lucas.
Well, that's fair enough. I quite like that. David Williams. I love that. You know, I find him very funny. But yeah, no, but
quite a controversial opinion on my behalf. No, and I know a load of people like Little Britain.
I just think it's great comedy. But anyway, like on that, Little Britain is coming back. They had to halt filming, but like Utopia, there's always space for it to come back. But I don't think Channel 4 is ever going to allow it to. But
what people nowadays know.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, we have gone off on a tangent, and we should probably get down.
This is a film podcast, not a TV one.
You know, we get film and TV. We can discuss anything really. So yeah, we should go on to our 60 to 51. I believe we're on. Are we on that?
60 to 51. Yeah.
So if you want to go straight ahead with your number 60.
Okay, so my 60 is the first Wes Anderson film on the list. It's Moonrise Kingdom.
See, I really can't comment on this because I've only seen 2 Wes Anderson films. I think.
2.
Oh wait, I've seen Grand Budapest Hotel and Fantastic Mr. Fox, but I was young, I don't remember it. So, yeah, I can't comment on that. I know which one it is though. It's the one with, I want to say Bill Murray, but I don't know if that's right.
Bill Murray occurs a lot in Wes Anderson films. He is in this one. Yeah.
It's like, is it like they're like under the sea or something?
Not Under the Sea, no.
Okay, fair enough.
It's basically about these kids kind of escaping on this island. One is like a scout and stuff like that. I watched it a while ago. I need to rewatch it to properly tell the story. But I mean, it's not my favourite Wes Anderson film. I've got a lot more on my list. But I don't know. I just really like Wes Anderson films. I mean, visually they're so nice. I know not a lot. I know that it's like, I feel like Wes Anderson films are kind of like the Marmite argument. You either like them or you don't.
That is, yeah, definitely. Like, I personally do not, because I feel like there's a difference between having a style and having like the same film every time you release a film and getting praised for it. Might I add, like he gets praised for every film, but it's like it's literally what I saw 2 years ago from him. It makes no sense to me in my head as like an aspiring filmmaker. That doesn't make sense to me because I don't know, but I get why people do like them, like yourself, but I personally just, yeah, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, this is just a really nice film. I mean, yeah, the story's nice, the aesthetic. I mean, it's a classic Wes Anderson film. I can't think of any other director that's got the style that he does. But yeah, I've really got to say on this.
Well, my number 60 is also a Bill Murray film. It's Lost in Translation, which also stars Scarlett Johansson. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good.
Go, but I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, so basically to tell the story, sort of, you know, like how you sometimes forget major details when you watch so many films like me and you do that you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
But I think he's like an aged actor or something. But he's in Tokyo anyway, and he's filming. And in his hotel, he's like having a drink, and then he meets Scarlett Johansson, and he's quite a lot older than her. And this is one of her first roles, I think. Well, not one of her first roles, but she's quite an early role for her, isn't it? It's like 1990 something, I think. 98, is it? Oh no, was it 2002? I can't remember.
I think it was 2002, 2003 ish.
Something like that. I think, yeah, it's still quite an early role for her, and it's basically sort of a love story, isn't it? But not your typical love story, like,
It's
like
not a stereotypical one boy and girl meet, same age,
yeah,
boy
exactly.
loses girl, stuff
He's quite a lot
like
older.
that.
He's sort of not happy in his life, I think you could argue. Um,
Yeah.
she meets him, but they don't actually end up getting together, if I remember correctly.
I don't think they do, no.
No, I think they both leave Japan, or he leaves Japan. Yeah, and that sort of ends like that, I think. Or I might have to go back and rewatch it, but I think it happens that way. Anyway,
On Netflix.
is it on Netflix? Oh, that's good. Nice.
Okay, so my 59 is The Butterfly Effect.
I have never fucking heard of that in my life, to be honest.
I haven't heard of it.
No, when you said that, I was like, what the actual fuck is that? Never heard of that in my life.
I haven't heard of The Butterfly Effect. It's kind of like, I don't want to, it's not like in the same ball pit as Inception, but it's kind of one of those mindfuck films.
Yeah. Like, sort of like
It's-
Donnie Darko.
Yeah. So, kind of like Donnie Darko, yeah. So difficult to try and like explain what it's about, but it's about this guy who keeps on waking up, but he's able to travel back in time and stuff like that. But he can travel back in time and alter stuff in time that happens to him and like other people in his life, so he can kind of choose what happens.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I mean, it's kind of like the Butterfly Effect, but
I mean,
No,
that is
at
the
the end
title.
of the
You'd
film
assume
is-
that it was,
but I mean, there's a killer plot twist at the end, but I'm not going to spoil it. But
Yeah,
yeah, I
no.
recommend it.
I'm still gonna try and like watch every film of these by the end of it.
Luck with that.
Thankfully, I would have seen 100 of them, so that's on my side. But my 59 is Edge of Tomorrow. Have you seen this?
I've never heard of that.
You've
No.
never heard of it? Really? It was like it's sort of it's a mainstream film. It was Emily Blunt and Tom Cruise. And it's an action film, and it's sort of set in this, I think it's a future world sort of thing, and they use robotics, and it's basically I need to watch it again. I know that I just remember it being so good, but I've seen so many films. I need to watch it again. I remember key scenes. It's like it's so hard for me to explain now, having not seen it in a while. But yeah, they use robotics and sort of in robotic suits. I believe at one point I could be very wrong on that, but there's a training scene as well. Or they might be against the robots. You know what? What I've concluded from this is I need to go back and rewatch it.
To rewatch it.
Yeah, because I can't even get my facts straight about this film, but I do remember fucking loving it. It was like, and I think I personally as well love when mainstream films get like good praise, because a lot of the Hollywood films you see, I'm not going to go into my Hollywood purpose theory, but a lot of the Hollywood films you see can be quite shitty, which is a shame. But yeah, this is one that got quite high praise, and I think it deserved it because it is memorable, despite what I have shown. That is just because I would argue, watch a lot more than the average film goer. But yeah. That's my 59.
Okay, so my 58 is a classic film in my eyes. It's Taxi Driver.
Oh yes, I have this. It's higher on my list, I believe, or I may have already said it. No, it's higher on my list. Not that much higher though. I am close to Taxi Driver, but yeah. Why do you like it?
I don't know. I mean, we had the talk about classic cinema in the last podcast. Was it the last podcast?
Yeah, I think one of them I discussed it. Yeah.
I mean, I see this as one of the most classic. I mean, the famous line, "Are you talking to me?" I mean, lots of people still use that. It's still
Yeah.
a classic line. I mean, lots of people. I've heard people look more in depth about the narrative of this film, labeling it as maybe slightly creepy. If you get what I mean.
It is in a way, yeah.
Yeah, but this is kind of one of those things I'm trying to overlook because it's a really good film. I really enjoy it. I mean, I'm actually a massive fan of Scorsese films, as you'll see from higher up on my list. But I mean, yeah, it's just Taxi Driver. It's just such a good film.
I don't think you can go wrong with Taxi Driver. Like, I went into it like it was one of the first Scorsese films I watched. I think I'd seen Goodfellas and The Departed, but I think I watched The Departed after Taxi Driver. Anyway, I went into Taxi Driver like, oh yeah, okay, this might be a bit boring, blah blah blah. Honestly, it is like so fucking good. Like my eyes were peeled to the screen. Like
Yeah.
the use of sort of suspense in a way, and the shots. I remember one shot particularly from when the main character, I've forgotten his name. Do you remember his name?
No.
Robert De Niro, who plays him anyway. When he's sat in the car and there's that shot, sort of low angle shot of the apartment, like window. Do you know which shot I mean?
I think I do. Yeah.
Yeah, such a good shot. Anyway, but yeah, great film. So yeah, I highly recommend that to anyone. My 58 is Antushab, another foreign film.
Never heard of that.
I have watched this, like, have you never heard of it? It's the highest, I believe, I had to study it for French, so you study a film in French, which I was quite happy about, but, you know, that about French is for another day. And I've seen it probably about 3 times, because not only did I study it for French A level, basically, they make you watch it, you know, like when you have those, like, Christmas days in school, they make you watch it, like, every time, so, like, for 5 years I watched it. It made a star of Omar Sy, who then went on to star in Jurassic World and other things. He's a French actor. And it was actually remade by Amazon recently, called The Upside, with Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston.
Oh, hang on a second.
It was like directly remade for American film, and it's like meant to be dreadful. I haven't seen it.
Is this the one? Hang on, I think I actually might. Not the remake, the original. This is where guy in a wheelchair and this like
yeah. The paraplegic.
Convict or something like that, and he's got to like look after him, and they
Yeah.
like bond really well.
Yes,
Yeah,
you
I've
do
seen
know.
that.
Yeah, it's good. I personally, not because I've been forced to watch it or anything, like, I actually genuinely really liked it. So, like, every time I was told to watch it, I would sit there and happily watch it. Like, there's so many great scenes in that film. And again, foreign film needs to be talked about more, but I think it's the highest, I think I've said it's the highest achieving, or won the most awards out of any foreign film ever, I believe. Parasite may now have overtaken that. But yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if Parasite overtook that. But
I think this was like 2011,
really...
so at the time. But yeah, no, it's a really good film. So many iconic scenes, and I think, again, just going back to The Upside, I think they made it like shot for shot, which really pissed me off. Like, one, it didn't need a remake. Two, like, just if you're gonna do a remake, maybe sort of use the story, but don't do shot for shot. Like, it's just, yeah, it just fucking annoys me. Anyway.
Do shot for shot remakes, I kind of am sat there like, oh, it's impressive that they've done it shot for shot, but I don't feel like there's any need for it.
Yeah, exactly. Like these Disney live action remakes. It's just ridiculous. Thankfully, actually, the Russo brothers, I think it was the Russo brothers, revealed today that their Hercules live action will not be a shot for shot remake like the others. So sort of, it'll be like the Jungle Book, where it's a bit different. They said they're going to use the characters but tell a different story. So.
And we just need to wait on their casting options, really.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, so my 57 is The Wicker Man. The original, the 1973 one, not the remake with Nick Cage.
Okay, I don't know either of them. As far as I was aware, The Wicker Man was a ride at Alton Towers. But clearly...
It is a ride at Alton Towers. It's based off of a film, though.
Wait, so that ride is actually based off the film?
Yeah.
Oh, damn, okay, fair enough.
I mean, I think so. I mean, I've never been to Alton Towers, but from what I've heard...
Oh, fair enough.
But yeah. It's been a while since I've seen this film too, but I mean, I can't recommend it enough. Like, it's just a classic cult horror film. It's not like one of those ones you get nowadays where it's like jump scares. It's kind of more of a creepy horror kind of thing. I mean, it's difficult to describe, but definitely watch the original.
Yeah.
Don't watch the remake. It's really not good. I mean, the original's got Christopher Lee in it. I mean, what more have I got to say? Then it's a Christopher Lee film.
I mean, to be fair though, Nicolas Cage. Look, he's cult now.
Nicolas Cage is great. But he's not great in the Wicker Man remake. I cannot stress this enough.
He's not great. Like, I don't think he's great in anything he's in, but he just is. Like, if that makes any sense, like, he's not great, which makes him great. He's
Yeah, I
got.
don't think he's like an Oscar-winning actor, but he's just kind of, you watch him in something and there's kind of
He's
like oh, that's
trying.
Nicolas
Leave
Cage.
him alone. He's trying. Nicolas Cage is trying. He'll never get there, but he's trying at least.
He's trying, yeah.
He's trying. Anyway, my 57 is also a horror film that we have already covered before, so don't need to talk about it that much. But I believe it was you that had it in your list. Jaws.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was me.
Personally, the reason I like this film, again, another classic. I know we use that as an excuse, like, oh, it's a classic, but I don't think you can go wrong with classics, to be honest. This was one of the first. So again, I was talking about the first like sort of classic films. Now, I wouldn't. This was like sort of the first like. Is it 70s? This was made. It was 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this was sort of like the first 70s film I'd ever seen, and so it's sort of like in the cinema age of new technology, sort of coming to light. You know, the likes of what year was this actually? I can't remember. Was this before 2001: Space Odyssey?
When was 2001: Space Odyssey?
I can't remember. It was it before Star Wars. I can't remember. Anyway, it's the time new technology is coming to light and blah blah blah, and it's like more dynamic storytelling, I'd say anyway. You know, sort of with you had Star Wars in 77, sort of stuff like that, and I personally found it very sort of entertaining to see. Sort of it's over dramatic, like the way we think about a shark like killing someone. Like if you know, not that I think about that, but that's more of a thing for you to think about. I know like how you have your weird thoughts, but like I just wouldn't imagine how Jaws is. So, like it sort of over dramatizes it, but it's still very entertaining and fun. And like you know like how the end scene with the whole boat rocking and you know everyone's like, oh my god, we're gonna die, you know, sort of thing. I would personally put that sort of as like classic 70s cinema. Like you saw it again going back to Star Wars. Like you see it with Star Wars, like with the sort of the end scene of that as well, when everyone's like, oh, it's like, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm getting?
Yeah,
at
I know what you mean.
least?
Yeah, I get what you mean.
Anyway,
I think I would put this film down as. I would genuinely put this film down as a film you have to watch before you die. It's like a bucket list film.
so you wouldn't put it before you have to watch.
I would. I
No, I
feel
would
like
as
everyone
well.
should see this.
Yeah, no, I would as well.
They
Yeah.
die.
Yeah, no, that's probably the reason I did watch it. But yeah.
Okay, so my number 56 is an animated film. It's Flushed Away.
Oh, wow! I'm actually shocked. Fair enough.
Why?
I don't know. Like I'm just gonna say this quick. Like I love like when we come to record because I do get very excited to find out what you have, and I just didn't come onto this episode expecting. I didn't come onto any episode expecting Flushed Away. Like it's a cult classic, I guess. But yeah, oh wow, okay, fair enough. I mean, I personally wouldn't
I
put it
think
in.
it's hilarious.
Do you know what? It's alright. It's not a bad film. I rewatched it like a year ago. No, maybe like 2 years ago. But only because a meme was being made out of it that I had to like sort of understand. And even though I rewatched it, I don't really remember it again. So, yeah.
I also think, I mean, it's currently on Netflix if you want to rewatch it again. But
I'm good,
I
thank
think,
you.
I mean, if you look at the cast, it's actually got, like, cast, you look at it and it's like, this is like A-list celebrity
Isn't like
cast.
Hugh Jackman like the main guy?
Like, it's Hugh Jackman is Roddy, then there's Kate Winslet, Ian McKellen, Andy Serkis. Like, look, this cast is a big,
Wait,
like...
Andy Serkis is in it?
Yeah.
The fuck? Did he do like the motion capture for like the frog just because, you know, that's what he does?
No, he plays Spike. I think he's one of the head like bodyguard rats.
Oh my Christ, fair enough. Andy, what happened? Oh,
You
okay.
hear that he's reading the entirety of like Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, isn't it to raise money for COVID?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like, go him. Is he
Yeah,
gonna read
yeah,
it
go
all
Andy.
in one voice or?
I don't know, but that would be fun. He wouldn't do the whole thing in Gollum voice. It would be a bit weird if he was doing Gollum voice for Frodo, who is then talking to Gollum. Like it would be that would just not work. But do you know what would have been fun if they got the entire cast to do like a read of the book, like whenever their character comes up.
That would be amazing. Like, what? Hang on, this Community's coming back. Is that like for COVID-19 thing, or is that just because they can?
Believe it's to raise money. I feel like anything coming back at this moment is like if Utopia came back, that would be to raise money. It would not be for you know, for
I'm not
any
even
other
kidding you. If
Hollywood.
Utopia came back now, I'd reach peak life.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, but it'll probably only come back for like what Community's doing, like a table read, which isn't as good. I know I'm biased because I love Parks and Recreation; it's my favorite TV show ever. But they actually came back and did a scripted episode, whereas Community and whatever else is only doing table reads. But there you go.
More content than we're getting in the Utopia
Yeah,
section, but
yeah, it is.
I get
Yeah,
what you mean.
yeah,
Anyway, yeah, Flushed Away, good film. Don't really have much more to say to it than it was. This is a childhood film. I say this a lot, but this is a good childhood film. But I can enjoy so much more now that I'm an adult. Like,
yeah. Do you know what? I'd say I'd say watch it. I would say watch it. I wouldn't say it's one for your bucket list, but I would say if you want some, it's not like a horrible film to watch, in my opinion. Obviously, for your opinion, it's not either. But no, I agree. It's all right. Just watch it, and you get some chuckles out of it. I think.
I wouldn't put it on the same level as the Jaws list. No, like the Jaws
No,
bucket list.
it
No,
is
but like,
interesting that my 57 was Jaws and your 56 is Flushed Away. However, nonetheless, uh, didn't and it is interesting how Flushed Away is higher than Jaws on your list. But
I
I
really enjoyed it.
you must have really enjoyed it. But I think from there I'm just going to move on to my 56, to be honest, which is
For
now this might shock you actually. The Holiday. Have you heard of it?
that sounds so familiar.
It is probably I think the first one on any of our lists that have been mentioned in this podcast. The first Christmas film.
Is that the rom com?
It's a rom-com Christmas film. I don't know if you class it as a Christmas film or Christmas rom-com, whatever. I don't know. Does not get enough praise as it is, right? I was actually having this conversation with the former podcast member before. He actually agreed with me that it is actually better than people say. He apparently enjoyed it as well. Enough about that. But yeah, no, I really fucking. It's got Cameron Diaz, Jack Black, Jude Law, and I believe Kate Winslet, right? And basically, what it is Cameron Diaz and Kate Winslet do a house swap during Christmas time. So Kate Winslet goes to California. She's Brit, obviously, and Cameron Diaz, the American, comes to some village in America, in England, not America. And you can call it a coincidence. You can call it unoriginal. But basically, Kate Winslet ends up with Jack Black, who is like Cameron Diaz's like manager or something, or like music guy. I can't even remember. And then Cameron Diaz ends up with Jude Law, who's Kate Winslet's brother. You can call that coincidence, but I think it's a nice tale, and it is a Christmas classic, in my opinion. That is a bold statement. But honestly, Sophie, have you not seen this?
I have not seen it.
Honestly, Christmas classic. It's different for a Christmas film. Like, it shows California, which you don't get much, right? And it switches between the areas, but the link is always there between. I think, you know what? Like I said earlier, it does not deserve like the lack of praise it gets. It deserves a lot more praise. I would say it's better than Love Actually, to be honest. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah, no, I
controversial.
would, because Love Actually is overpacked with stories, whereas this is two stories that are linked, and we understand the link. Whereas in Love Actually, you're a bit like, so that, so like with Love Actually, right? The Prime Minister, who is so Hugh Grant is the brother to Emma Thompson, right? But you sort of find that out halfway through the film, and you're like, oh right, so that's how they're linked, and it's like, but then you're sort of trying to think, oh, how is this, the guy from Death in Paradise, what's his name? I can't remember.
Crikey.
All right, Martin Freeman's part, yeah? You're like, how does this link to this bit? Because you assume that everything has to come together in Love Actually. I don't know, I took that from it anyway. But, and then the link that we get is that they all end up at the same concert for kids, which just makes absolute no sense. Or at the airport or whatever. And it's just like, what? Why would you all end up at the airport at the same time? What a coincidence. Anyway, you actually understand the link in the holiday. I'm really bigging up this film. I'm so sorry.
You really are.
I'm so sorry, but I'm just saying, you actually understand the link, and it is a tale that I think, genuinely, it could happen, right? Not that it has to be that realistic, but I think as well, it is a touching tale, and I think it's executed pretty well. And there are some iconic scenes in that, such as when Cameron Diaz is sat with Jude Law's kids, because Jude Law is a widower in the film, and so he's obviously trying to find a mother to his kids as well. I don't know, look, I'm going to shut up about it now, because I've gone on for probably about 5 minutes about it. I just think, give it a watch. I wouldn't even have to like say it's Christmas to give it a watch because it's just a brilliant film. You know, it's not your classic Christmas film. There's no talk of, obviously they might mention Christmas, but there's no talk of like it's one of those films where Christmas happens right at the end, but like it's during
Does
the
it snow in the
seasons.
film?
It snows in the British part of the film, but in America, no.
It's a Christmas film.
That yeah, okay, but look,
If it snows, it's Christmas. That's
but
what we're
does it
basing
snow in
this off
Die
on.
Hard?
Eh?
Does it? Oh, okay. Well,
Don't
there we go.
remember.
I
If
don't
it
even
does,
remember.
then yeah, it's a Christmas film. Anyway, before you have another monologue about this Christmas film, I will move on to number 55, which is, I don't really know. I've never really heard anyone's opinion about this. It's Now You See Me.
Oh, I love Now You See Me. I'm so glad that's on your list, and it's not on mine, and I feel
Brilliant.
so ashamed. I love that, and I can't believe that they're now bringing out the third one. They're going ahead with it.
But when?
It's coming out like obviously now there's complications due to COVID, so probably
Uh,
like I would guess 2022, 2023. But still, I'm so glad that's on your list, and that is an honourable mention for me because I fucking loved that at the time it came out. I'm gonna let you talk about it. Sorry.
love I love magic. I am a massive admirer of magic. Like, it's so cool. I wish I could do magic as well as any of these people. I love Penn and Teller and stuff like that. But I really I love. It's not just Now You See Me. I think honorable mention is the second film. It's like it's not as good as the first one, but it's a pretty good sequel. But Now You See Me, about a bunch of magicians. It's already like I don't know. It's just a film
I
about magic. I mean, it's like badass magic. It's like
I
the scene in the. I'm talking about the second film more, but in the second film where the card where they flick it between each other. I mean, I think that's so cool.
yeah, and the slow mo shots as well.
Yeah,
Also, the editing, like it may seem simple editing, but I loved it. I can't remember if it's in the first or the second one when they rob the bank. I believe it's the first.
it's the first one. Yeah.
And like that editing, you know, like it's that editing that I can sort of describe it. You know how they go through a film is like they go through each character and sort of the character walks into the next shot, but then it's the new character. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you use that nice editing, and honestly, one thing that annoyed me about this film series is that they changed the actress who plays the lead woman in it.
I have no idea why they did that.
I think she either didn't want to be in it or she had something else going on. I can't remember. That could be completely wrong. Maybe she just didn't want to be in it. I don't know. But yeah, no, I'm so glad you know what, you have redeemed yourself from whenever you had flushed away above Jaws or whatever, right? You've redeemed yourself, you know, for all the shitty for House of Flying Daggers. You know, we'll remember everything over this
Joker.
series from Joker. I don't know if you can redeem from that. You shouldn't have reminded me of that really, to be honest. But yeah, I'm so glad you have that. Honestly, I agree with you. You've got to go and watch that film. It's actually so good. And you know, Morgan Freeman's in it. Michael Caine is in it, I think.
He is.
Jesse Eisenberg, is he in it?
Yeah, he's one of
Yeah.
the magicians. It's also got Woody Harrelson in it.
Woody Harrelson, yeah. That was my first, like, time ever watching Woody Harrelson, and I fucking loved him in that. So, I went and watched a bunch of his films. So, yeah. Sorry, you can tell I'm passionate about it. I love this film. I think it's great.
Go for it, man. It's an amazing film.
Anyway, my 55 is. Do you know what? I'm looking at this. I'm like, should I have put this higher? But no, I'm sticking it where it is. The Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. So when I decided, like I think I've discussed this before, when I decided doing my list, I did have to take sequels out and stuff, and I did have to choose between the three Lord of the Rings because I just couldn't put them all on my list, and I did choose the first one because for me it is the most memorable. Like I do remember two and three, but I'm gonna have to rewatch them. They're so fucking long. Oh, like
really
they
are.
really are long, and it's like it makes me not want to rewatch them. But no, the first one I remember. I think the first one is more of a, in the weirdest way, it's the more of a coming of age tale, whereas the second and third are more like fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not really introduced to Gollum in the first one, are we?
I honestly can't remember. I'm gonna have to say this to you now. I've seen them. I've seen all of the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit, the Star Wars films. I just am not a massive fan of those collectives at all. I just don't. I don't hate them. I just don't think they're anything special.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. I mean, did you then? This is an argument. Did you think that I think it was the third Lord of the Rings film should deserve Best Picture Oscar, becoming the first fantasy film ever to win it?
I don't remember what was it. What else was of that year?
I can't remember. I can't remember, to be
I
honest with
remember
you.
it being one of the better ones though.
You in terms of filmmaking, you can't deny that they are good filmmaking and storytelling.
Oh no, I can't deny that. Like they definitely are, but I just think as like a topic,
Yeah,
I don't enjoy them that much.
I feel like the reason as well I put this on my list is that Star Wars gets so much fucking recognition. It has its own day, and I love Star Wars. Like I'll say, I am one of the complete nerds. You're me. I love the Marvel films. I love the Star Wars films, Lord of the Rings, whatnot. But Star Wars and Marvel get hella like praise and like talked about. Lord of the Rings, for me personally, I don't think gets talked about enough. Like it is a universe that, thankfully, is still being explored by Amazon. The series coming soon, but obviously production halted. Um, but honestly, there's so many iconic scenes in the first one that I've put on my list as like the I don't know if you'll remember them. Like even the opening scene in Hobbiton, when Gandalf comes and takes Frodo, and the scene with the horse and the dark. Do you know what? I've forgotten their names. I'm saying I'm really into this and I can't even remember their names. But the dark men on the horses and the one up the sort of the concretey spiral. I'm probably sounding bonkers.
There's a lot of characters. No, it's alright. There's a lot of characters you've got to pay attention to.
The scene in the pub, where we meet Aragorn. That's a great scene, right? Anyway, my point was there are a lot of great scenes. I don't feel like Lord of the Rings gets enough, so that's why it's on my list. But before I go on to another monologue, go on to your 54, because otherwise we'll be here all day.
We'll be here for ages.
We will.
Okay, so my number 54 is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Right, is this the... Sorry, I keep taking over. I just want to ask one question. Is this the one from like the 40s that's like 3 hours long?
No.
No, this is the 70s one with Jack Nicholson.
It is.
Yes. Oh, okay, sorry. I'm thinking of a different film that's 3 hours long called... from the 40s called... I can't remember what it's called, don't worry.
Anyway, yeah, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Have you seen it?
I have not.
I don't really want to like say too much about it. But it was a film we could have possibly studied in film studies.
Yeah, I noticed that.
And I kind of wish we had, but I kind of glad we didn't, because I feel like if we had watched it, I would have watched it so many times that it actually would have ruined the film for me.
Yeah.
I don't want that. But comedy drama, it's a longer film than normal. It's about 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, I mean...
About a guy in prison. He kind of fakes being mad.
I'll tell you what, I am right now going to put it on my list because I do want to see it. But anyway, yeah, sorry, continue.
Good film. And he's kind of put onto this this mental ward, and I don't know, it's kind of him just trying to work it out on this mental ward against this nurse and stuff like that. I'm probably sounding like making no sense at all right now, but it's good, and it's one of my favourite Jack Nicholson roles, really.
Yeah. Well, obviously I don't want you to spoil it for me, so I'm going to move on to my 54 before, anything gets spoiled. Which is Back to the Future, which we have discussed last episode, I believe.
Yeah. I think I had it on my list, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, all I'll say to it, I can't remember what we said, but all I'll say is, again, it was like I said, in the 70s, there was sort of dynamic techniques, filming techniques and new technology, and dynamic storytelling. I feel like, to use a different word, the 80s was sort of more diverse storytelling, and it really, I would say, or I would argue, Back to the Future really led the way, and Back to the Future and Groundhog Day, which I had, really led the way to films like Superbad, to films like Booksmart, to these feel-good films that we talk about, these ones that, National Lampoon's Vacation, that don't need a dramatic... there might be dramatic aspects in there, like there is in Booksmart, there is in Superbad, but they're not centred around a dramatic or a true story, or do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and like, this is a film that you can really... The characters in the 80s, a lot of the characters were, how do we get teens into film more? How do we get teens to understand and enjoy filmmaking more? What do? We make the characters just like them. Ferris Bueller is like a teen, basically. Marty McFly. Who else have we got in the 80s?
Breakfast Club, literally all of them in the
Breakfast Club. Yeah, exactly. So I think this was part of that great time of filmmaking when it was really on a high. Not that it's not now, but yeah, that's why it's one of my favourites, and obviously it's iconic, and I love the poster. So yeah, that's why that's there.
I get what you mean. Okay, so my number 53 is a film that I literally rewatched yesterday. It's The Death of Stalin.
Oh wow. Okay. I've never seen it, but I know it was nominated for Oscars and I was meant to watch it. What's it like?
It's absolutely hilarious.
Wait, what? I was
It
thinking
is
this was a
so
drama.
funny. No, no, not at all.
Hmm.
It's basically about. Oh, it's not a drama at all. Basically, Stalin has died in 1953, and literally, like, suddenly. And it's about all these men that used to work for him wanting to be the leader of Russia. But it's in a massively comedic, dark, humoured way. The cast is amazing too. I mean, you've got the likes of Steve Buscemi, Jason Isaacs, people like that. And it's like a mix. They're not in like any Russian accents or stuff like that, so it's just a mix of the British accent and American accent. Like Stalin is Cockney in this film, for the part where he's alive. There's that storyline of them trying to like be the leader of Russia, which is hilarious in itself. There's also a kind of subplot to the film about this soldier who has been tasked with finding this girl. I mean, it's quite a long process to go into, but the side plot for this film is hilarious as well as the main narrative. I mean, I've watched it like twice now, and it still like doesn't fail to make me laugh like a lot. It is hilarious.
I'm quite shocked because I genuinely took that as a drama film. So I'm actually I'm actually going to go and watch it now. I did not realize it was a comedy at all.
Like, seriously, it's really funny. Just let me know when you watch it because it is such a good film.
I will let you know. My 53 is Superbad, which again we've covered already. I think we said it was the feel good film and whatnot. It stars Jonah Hill, Emma Stone, obviously famous for McLovin, the ID, which is definitely too old for the character. Again, yeah, just a great family. So I wouldn't say sit down with your kids, but if you got kids that are about 17, 18, 16 even, great family sit down and watch. Seth Rogen wrote and is very funny also in it. Yeah, that's all I have to say on Superbad. We've covered it before, so.
Alright, so my 52 is a film that you mentioned earlier. But we haven't actually spoken about it too much. Is Donnie Darko.
Oh, fair enough. Now, I should say to you, I did mention it, but I haven't seen it, but I know it's wacko, I've been told.
It is. It really creeps me out. I mean, I like it, but it is quite a creepy film. It's about this teenage boy, who kind of sees this psychotic rabbit figure called Frank. Frank tells Donnie that the world's going to end in 28 days. It's like 28 days, like 5-6 hours and like 12 seconds or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's basically Donnie going around being like, the world's going to end, and people literally think he's insane. But I mean, I'm not going to spoil the film, but it is a really. I would say I wouldn't put it straight in the horror category. I mean, it's mostly horror, but it's quite sci-fi fantasy as well. But it's really good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I can't comment on it. I haven't seen it. I know one of my friends, it's their favourite film of all time, so I probably should watch it. But yeah, I'm not going to just yet because I have such a big list now of films to see. Anyway, my 52. We are on 52, aren't we? Yeah.
Yes.
My 52 is now 2 Christmas films in one episode, plus 2 Christmas films in one section of the list. That is impressive, to say the least.
Okay.
My 52 is Elf, which
That's an honourable mention for mine, I do have to say.
yeah, it is, I believe, the highest Christmas film on here. That for my list anyway. Do you have any Christmas films on yours?
I don't think I have any Christmas films.
See, that's what I thought. I thought when I was doing this, some of you might like miss out the Christmas films,
I'm not a massive Christmas film watcher. I mean, if I'm flicking through near Christmas time and it's on the TV, I'll put it on. But I don't actively put Christmas films on.
I think you did have It's a Wonderful Life last episode.
Oh yeah, I had that, but that's like a classic as well as it's a classic Christmas film. Okay, I take that back a little bit, but like again, like go. Oh, it's Christmas time for the Christmas films. I don't.
Yeah. I the reason I put Elf on my list is because I don't think you can go wrong with Elf. Like, if there is a single person out there that's like, oh, I don't like Elf, like, you just can't go wrong. It's good
I know
filmmaking.
a lot of people who don't like Elf.
What? It's so fucking good. And look,
It's hilarious.
I've seen the musical. Like, I loved it that much. I've seen the musical of it. Dreadful. Don't go see the musical. Just honestly.
They made a musical.
There's a musical. It's dreadful. Oh Christ, it's bad.
And they made a musical for The Shining.
What?
An opera.
Really? What the fuck? Okay. Well, to conclude, film is better than theatre, in my opinion.
I like film more, but I do have to say I like theatre, but not The Shining music.
Save that for the theatre podcast, Sophie. So, theatre live, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, but yeah, no, I don't think you can go. Will Ferrell completely just. He takes this role and makes it something else, in my opinion. Like, it just would not have worked with anyone else. He's so bloody tall as well, right? That it just makes the gags that much funnier. Like, that scene in the opening, when you see him sat in the chair next to his dad, who's an elf, obviously, it's just brilliant. I think it's great. It's comedy, it's great comedy Christmas films. I'd say it's the best comedy Christmas film. It's great Christmas spirit. Like, you get the real sense of Christmas from the film. I feel. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they've definitely captured the essence of Christmas, and I mean, it's a lot of visual comedy as well as the normal.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah.
So many iconic scenes. There's so many. The bathroom scene where they start singing the Christmas songs together. Will Ferrell and the leading actress, forgotten her name. The final scene with the sleigh, having to ramp up the sleigh, having to get the whole crowd singing, and the palette as well. It's a real when they're in the mall and the real Christmas. I love, right. I won't lie. I love the look of a USA Christmas mall. I think it really gets me in the Christmas spirit, and I love that scene.
It's tacky, but I get what you mean.
It is so tacky, but it really looks Christmassy, like with all the Christmas trees and like the Christmas set. When he's an elf and there's Santa. They really go for it. It looks like. I've never been to the US personally, but yeah, and we just don't get that over here in England because we're a bit more. Oh, here's Santa. That's enough. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so I really get the Christmas feel from this film, which is why it's one of my favourites. And yeah, I'll stop rambling about it now.
Okay, so this is the last film for this episode, isn't it?
The last two, yeah.
So my number 51 is Saving Private Ryan.
Oh wow! See, I had that a lot lower down. In the 90s. I had that in the very first episode.
I think it's because I am such a massive. I mean, I like the film, but I think it's also because I'm such a massive fan of Band of Brothers.
Yeah.
Which is also Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg.
But did you see it before or after?
See Band of Brothers before or after Saving Private Ryan?
Saving Private Ryan before or after Band of Brothers?
I saw it before Band of Brothers.
Oh right, okay.
But I'd seen knew of Band of Brothers and I knew of Saving Private Ryan. I knew they were on the same. I knew it was Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the film. I think I just enjoyed the miniseries more because they got to cover a lot more in the miniseries than they probably did in that film. I know it's not the same thing, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Anyway, Saving Private Ryan, a good war film actually. I have a guilty pleasure for war films. I have a guilty pleasure for anything. I mean, I don't want to sound like a psychopath, but I really enjoy watching World War II documentaries, films, stuff like that.
I like documentaries. Don't get me wrong. I like war documentaries, but war films, I just get so bored by them. 1917 shocked me because I really enjoyed 1917, But other war films, Saving Private Ryan, I was just bored, man. It's not Saving Private Ryan's fault. It's so similar to every other war film, in my opinion, that I was just like, oh, it's all of the same. But I get why people do like them. But yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a massive fan of like period dramas and stuff like that. Like, I think if you were to make a film or a TV show set in the past, it's World War One, World War Two kind of areas that I'd mostly go for to watch. I really am not a fan of Downton Abbey.
No.
Stuff like that. But I mean, also, period dramas are okay. I mean, I'm not a massive fan. Like, we're planning on watching a new TV series tonight as well. It's called The Terror. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, I have. Yeah, it was on AMC in the US. I know
Yeah,
that
the
because,
one
yeah, I've covered it on TV.
in ice.
Yeah.
I'm basically planning on watching that tonight. I mean, I'm going to give it a go.
What's that? Is that on a streaming service or something here?
I've got it on DVD.
Oh, you got it on DVD, okay, fair enough.
On DVD, I've risked it. I've really risked it. If it's not good, then I've wasted 20 quid, but...
20 quid you spent on it? Damn, fair enough.
Let's hope it's good, eh?
Yeah, let's hope it's good. But...
On my bank account. Anyway, yeah, I mean, I've kind of gone off piece from Saving Private Ryan, but I mean, it's not... Is it the first war film on my list?
Do you know what? I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you.
I don't think it's... I mean... No, it is. It is the first war film on my list, but it's not the last. I do have a couple more higher up the list.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Anyway.
That Saving Private Ryan was the only one for me on my list, but yeah. I'm gonna move on with my 51, the last one of this episode, which I think might shock you. But look, let me get it out the way, right? I'm so glad it's just you here today, because I feel like I would have been ripped for this. But I fucking love this film, right? I'm keeping you on your toes. You don't know what it is, do you?
Come on, bro.
Marley and Me. Look.
Wow.
Look. People say it's a very bad film. Like, Rotten Tomatoes say it's a bad film. Whatever. Like, I think it was a good piece of film. My eyes were glued to the screen, for one. Two, I think they actually cast very well in that film. I think Owen Wilson and Jennifer Aniston were great cast. The problem that people have with it is that it's a true story and it's based on a New York Times article or whatever. And the problem with that is people are, with true story films, people are always like, oh, it has to be like, it has to be like it was portrayed in the article, or blah, blah, blah. I think if they had never said it was based on a true story, obviously they would have got copyright claims, whatever. But look, in an ideal world, where it hadn't been based on that, but it was still the same story, it would be a great film. Do you know what I mean? I feel like that's why people don't like it. Nonetheless, I still find it a great film. I love dogs. I think my love for my dog is shown quite vastly on my Instagram pages and whatnot.
Yep.
And honestly, she's like my best friend in the entire world. So like, I will admit it, I literally cried at Marley and Me, because the thought of, like, and it just shows, like, the thought of that dog that I've only known for an hour and a half dying could bring up these emotions for me. That's what makes it one of my favourites. That's what makes it my 51st favourite film of all time, because for that to bring up them emotions, and then it sort of does, put in your head, like, oh my god, if my dog died, and I just could never imagine that. And I think for them, the filmmakers, to do that so well and to create that emotion. And I remember when it came out, my parents cried, I remember other people cried. So it's like, for them to do that so well is quite an achievement, I think.
I'm not hating on this film, because, I didn't cry. Not because I'm a heartless bastard. I have cried at cinema before anyone mentions that. I liked it, but I didn't cry at it because I don't really know. It's not like I don't have anything like that to relate to. When I watched it, I didn't actually have a pet. Now I've got a cat, and I get that it's not the same as a dog, but it is a pet.
Yeah. I do feel like maybe that is why I had that connection with it, because I have a dog myself. Maybe.
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like it was one of those films that when it came out, everyone was like, if you haven't cried at Marley and Me, then you're really heartless. I feel like... Do you remember when Fault in Our Stars came out?
Yeah.
And everyone was like, I don't know anyone who hasn't cried at this film. And I watched it and I was like, oh, well, it's sad, but I haven't cried.
Yeah, I never saw it, so yeah.
I mean, it's sad, but it's not anything special.
I completely get what you mean though. Like, I agree with Marley and me. It wasn't fair for people to say, "Oh, you're heartless." It's like, it doesn't mean they're heartless. It just means they have a different response to it. Like, I don't think, I do
I think it's just Marley and me. Every cinema, every bit of cinema, it will get a different response from
Yeah.
people.
Every film evokes a different response from different people, depending on your personal experience. As in like what life you've led, or it's something that may be about to come. I don't know. Like if you're watching Sweet 16 and you're about to become 16, that will obviously evoke a different response to you. So I completely agree with what you're saying. But yeah.
I mean, I've got no opinion on Marley and me. I mean, it was an enjoyable film when I watched it. It's cute, it's sad. All those, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Marley and Me is the last film of this episode. I have really liked our films this episode. I think there's been a mix. We've had horror, we've had Christmas films, we've had Flushed Away, Marley and Me, Now You See Me. So it's been a real different mix. Yeah.
I've had a combination of a lot of films, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so that is it for this episode. I'm off to watch the rest of Utopia. What are you doing, Sophie? You're going to watch The Terror?
I'm gonna finish Chernobyl first. Got one episode of that left, and then I'm gonna start The Terror. Yeah.
Yep. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for our next episode when we hopefully have Lucas to join us for his top 50 and for the rest of our top 100.